This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back. Lots to talk about today. We're going to focus on your health and boosting your immunity. And as we head into the warmer months, hydration, so important. But here's the surprise here for, I believe, most of us, how hydration supports many things other than hydrating your body, including immunity. That's just a piece of it. She's the expert. I'm skimming the surface here. She's a holistic health practitioner. She's master certified in nutrition, response testing, and so much more. And it's so great to have her back with us. Claire Boye is on the program. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you back here. And the hydration thing, we know we should be hydrating properly. Most of us don't. Aside from giving your body fluids, what are some of the other things that are impactful with hydration that we might not realize?
Yeah, so hydration for me is really about a combination of things. People generally understand you got to drink some kind of water, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't understand is if you don't drink the right water, then it actually doesn't absorb into your body. So it just goes straight through you and you're just running to the restroom all the time. So one of the secrets for actually hydrating is to make sure that you have the viscosity of the water at the right, I would say, viscosity, so it can actually get into the cells, pass through the walls, get inside of the cell, help to rinse them out. And that's hydration, really, is penetration. And we need to use electrolytes and more salt in order to get that done. So it's really the combination of things. It's water plus the right salts, and we have the right viscosity to allow hydration.
When you say viscosity, how do you define that?
Viscosity just describes how well something can penetrate through, like how porous is it? So if the water globe or molecule is too big, then it's not going to pass through the walls of the cells. So it just stands on the outside, sits on the outside, and so that causes, guess what? Edema, which is swelling in the body because it can't absorb into the cells. So actually when people have a lot of swollen feet and all those type of things in the summer, it's because they're not able to hydrate well enough, and the water then just settles in the extremities farthest away from the heart. And so that's a lot of times the feet.
Now, let's say that somebody is drinking, a fair amount of water. Now, you talk about viscosity. Yeah. Is there any difference in water? I go for purified water. Yes. I don't do spring water. I understand that you never know what's in the spring. It sounds like it's a good idea, but purified, I hear, is better. What can you tell us?
Well, in my experience, really the best water is spring water because it really contains minerals in there that we utilize and need. Calciums, we need irons, we need different types of minerals in our body. So really, the safest bet, assuming the company is of some kind of moral character, is the spring water. But I almost feel like you cannot go wrong with it. What can be kind of, I feel like on the side of difficult for the body to really absorb are like reverse osmosis system water, purified water. But the one I tell people do not do is distilled water.
So what are your thoughts on purified water?
So purified water removes a lot. So that makes it harder for it actually to absorb into the body. So if you're not doing something deliberate, like adding minerals and or adding electrolytes to that water, then it actually kind of passes through you and it's not doing as much.
So it's two trains of thought. Like somebody told me, well, no, spring water, you never know where it's coming from and if there are any contaminants in the spring water. And I get your point. There's minerals in it. That's part of why we drink water. So with purified water, okay, We're making sure it's safer to consume.
Mhm.
However, we're stripping
Mhm.
out really important stuff. It's almost like
Exactly.
a catch-22
It is really
situation.
catch-22. It really is. So, like I said, you get the most really combination of salts and minerals because that's what we need. That's how our bodies work. We need the minerals to actually send signals, and they actually help with the chemical processes, etc. So the more that you get, the more help your body gets, instead of just having to only rely on like food, because sometimes the food is not as optimal either. Because I mean, if you think about it, if you go to any kitchen, it's like a crapshoot. Like, where did they get that food from? You can wonder about everything all the time. However, if you know that that kitchen generally cooks their food, you're going to have a chance it's going to be okay because it's going to, handle most of the infections or something that might be in the food. And of course, they want people to come back, so they're going to do a good job. The same thing can be said about for like a spring water. Like they want people to still buy that water, so they want it to taste good. So they keep making sure they have the same type of water. So I just recommend general companies that have tested really well for the people that come to my office. Those are like Hinkley spring water. It goes to the Primo brand, I believe. That company bought them out, but they're great. I even am okay with that ice mountain water. I am okay with it because if that's what you can get, if you're driving across the country and you pull into that gas station and that's all they have to offer, that's still going to be better than some purified water with minerals re-added because those can kind of get sketchy.
Okay. Um, let's talk about minerals. Hyper focus on that just a little bit. Why they're so essential and what they do within our body.
Mm-hmm. So our body uses different chemicals to help us with signaling processes, right? And also, like for example, iron. Iron is critical to help us actually have processes to oxygenate our body, so we can actually kind of breathe. And being able to oxygenate our cells properly then allows us to have like clarity in our brains. We can actually think clearly. It helps to energize us as well. So, and someone goes on a trip, vacation, they're like, oh, I can take a deep breath. And I just feel so invigorated and so calmed. It's because we crave that. We need that. So we have internal processes to help us access that. So if we don't have enough minerals, then it's harder. What we want is easy.
Hmm. So, tap water. I'll be
Mm,
honest, I haven't consumed tap water in probably 3 decades. I couldn't even tell you. I just don't drink tap water. Where I'm
yeah.
from, and I'm on Long Island, there are concerns about the quality of tap water. Sometimes, tests come back. It's great. There are pockets of Long Island where breast cancer rates are higher, cancer rates are higher, some attributed to the water. So I feel, let me drink either spring or purified water.
Much
Um,
better off doing that.
say that again. Say that again.
You're much better off doing that. Tap water is really just, I feel like these days the worst of worst. Now, I grew up in St. Louis, and that water, I don't know, they figured it out some kind of way. That is kind of tastes like a springish type water. So they
Hmm.
have figured out a way to actually, from the good old dirty Mississippi,
Yeah.
clean it out, or they have a source that is pure enough that with the combination of the clean water that it tastes great. But generally, yeah, even on the West Coast, it's there. It's just terrible. It just has a lot of residues in there, and so our bodies have to then separate the water out in order to actually absorb it.
Mm. The flavor comes from the minerals. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Um, what about adding things to your water? I have friends that add some mix or basically electrolytes that they're adding into the water.
Yeah,
Good idea or
yeah.
not?
Great idea.
Okay.
Great
Mm.
idea. So you're actually improving the water's ability to actually absorb. So anything you can do to add margin is great. I even have people, I'm like, just carry around that little, I call it a dime bag just to be funny, but I'm like, you can have a little bag of salt or electrolytes and just put a pinch into your water if you don't have any water on hand and just be ready. Get the most out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, we focused on water. Let's look at the benefits of hydration in other areas. Immunity. Now, I believe
Yeah.
you said that it makes a big difference in being hydrated to boost your immune system. How does that work?
Yeah. So the way that it works is it allows your body to have better fluid flow. And being that fluid is how things actually move and shift through the body. If that's able to move more easily, it's easier to lift up and carry away any kind of dead infections, excess toxins to eliminate much more easily.
That makes perfect sense. So it's almost as if it's flushing your body out.
It absolutely is. So if you have too much dried out areas and you don't have enough hydration, then it literally doesn't get cleaned up or rinsed away well enough. So with enough dry outs, then your body's just like, I'm struggling. Now I can't handle the new thing. And now I'm sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't even realize that. I mean, that alone is enough reason to make sure that we're all properly hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Um, hmm. Let's talk immunity itself now. What can you tell us about boosting our immunity, short of hydration, and some of the other things that we should consider if we don't want to get sick as often?
Yeah. So for me, the key places to make sure you support in the body are the liver and this organ called the spleen, which most people don't even know what that particular organ does because people don't talk about it as much.
Please don't ask
However,
me.
I know. I'm like,
I
Steve, no. So
no
I'll tell
idea.
you what this does. But it's a critical organ in the body because it's responsible for cleaning out our fluid flow. So it's the big filter. That's one of the main jobs that it does, the spleen. So when the fluid flow passes through this spongy type organ, it actually has a lot of, I would call them trip switches that help feed back to the main brain computer. Like, hey, we don't have enough of this hormone in the bloodstream, or we've got this. Let's start this other processes. It's almost like a second brain. It's kind of how it works. But it's critical not only for like cleaning up and catching all of the debris and stuff that we don't necessarily want in the body,
Hmm.
but it's also key for lubrication in the body, sending out those signalings for that. It's also super key for some white blood cell production. So whenever you eat something, that's the organ that's triggered, like, oh, this may not be great. Send out the troops to kind of help squash that infection. It's also critical for melatonin production,
Wow.
believe it or not. So between that and the pineal, those work hand in hand with helping our body have enough for sleep.
And this is, am I hearing this right? The spleen? We still,
Yes, the spleen. The spleen.
wow. Okay. Pineal gland
Yeah.
is located between your eyes or somewhere thereof, right? Hmm.
Yeah. So it's if you take your hand and you put your pointer finger right at your nose, the pineal is right where your third finger touches. So take your pointer finger right between your eye corners.
Hmm.
See, like me?
Yep.
And just touch them together. And so your pineal is right here.
Wow.
You see?
And which finger is touching the pineal?
The third finger, the middle one.
The middle. Okay.
So you just make praying hands. Yep.
Yeah, right
So
there.
right there.
How
You found
interesting.
it.
And there's many that believe that gland is also responsible for, they call it the third eye.
Yep.
Where,
Absolutely. This is the fourth eye between the eye corners.
explain.
So we have different levels of, psychic levels, and it goes all the way up, to like past 7, I believe. But the most critical one that we need, because we're in the third dimension, is the third eye.
I never, silly me, I've never made that connection, third dimension, third eye.
Yep.
It never clicked in. And we're dropping down the woo-woo rabbit hole for some here at this
Yeah.
point. There's some believing that we're in the fifth dimension now, or some are. Some of us are transitioning from the third to the fourth and to the fifth. But the pineal gland responsible for your intuition. predicting the future, potentially connected with um, the gut feeling, all of that, all working together in one. Interesting. Any other thoughts on immunity that we should be aware of?
Okay, so the basic thing I wanted to get back to is the spleen is critical. So literally, if someone is trying to figure out how do I help my immunity overall, you want to feed your spleen. You want to support your spleen, and you want to support your liver. So a cool way to do that is just to drink a tea that has spices that help the spleen, so like a chai without the caffeine. And then you can add the dandelion root, and the combination, you will clean out your liver and then also help nourish and support your spleen.
Amazing. And interestingly, I started drinking tea about a year ago. I still drink coffee.
Mhm.
Not so much caffeine. I'm good with the decaf, if anything.
Mhm.
But I'm loving tea first thing in the morning, and also spicier tea. As a matter of fact, I might have a turmeric tea and even add more turmeric to it just because I like that little spicy jolt to it. Ginger and all of
Yeah.
that. So the
Ginger
spicy,
and turmeric are one of the spleen spices. Yeah.
so how does that support, let's say, the spleen? What's going on there with the spicy stuff?
Those particular items, ginger, black pepper, cinnamon. Um, I mean, I won't go to the super spicy ones because everyone can't handle those, but this is kind of like a nice safe lane.
Hmm.
Turmeric. Those items are literally food. Those are the particular minerals that the spleen really utilizes to activate and do its function.
Wow.
So if you drink a tea first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, then what you're doing is just waking up your body appropriately so things can get going. Now, spleen, believe it or not, is also instrumental for digestion. So this is why they say if you drink ginger, you will help your digestion because you're actually just activating your spleen.
Well, that's why I started drinking ginger because about a year and a half ago, um, had some digestion issues. So, man, that's where
Mm-hmm.
that's where it began. But I had no idea, how it's even addressing the spleen. So while we're talking about beverages, um, temperature, I've heard from
Mm-hmm.
some Chinese medicine practitioners that you should not be drinking cold liquids.
Anything cold. Nope. I tell people room temperature or warm or hot. As easiest for the body to handle because you don't have to warm it up. Otherwise, you have to make your body into a cooker to raise it to the same temperature as your internal temperature to digest it. That's what happens no matter what. So if it's already warm, then there's less work.
And this is what I'm hearing, that your body has to work harder. You're changing the mode of digestion when it's a cold beverage. Now I get it, hot day, nobody wants to really be
Right.
drinking something warm. However, it's probably best for you. What
Mhm.
about hot beverages? Now we're talking about, room temperature, call it warm. If it's hot to the point where you can drink it, but quite hot, is that okay?
That's great. It's
Okay.
perfect. So when I first was thinking about that concept and was like processing, like it makes a lot of sense, but does it make sense in the summertime? How in the world can you drink something hot? So personally, I drink hot water, hot spring water to be exact, to start my day. That's like my coffee. And I
Hmm.
absolutely feel invigorated. So I don't even think about the fact that it's hot, cold, warm, whatever outside too much. I can drink this and I just feel great once I have that hydrating fluid coming in.
Interesting. All this stuff we don't know until we know. And it
Until,
makes,
until you know.
and would you say, scale of 1 to 10, not drinking cold beverages, 10 being
Mhm.
really, really, really important? Where would you put that on the 10 scale?
I say reasonable. Okay. So generally day to day, you want it room temperature to hot, just period. Occasional cold, like ice cream, the different things, fine. But that's not something you want to do all through the day, all the time. Generally, your body's just going to be better off with doing hot or room temperature.
Okay. I feel everything is a habit. You get used to it, you'll be fine with it. Like I'm sure when you first started drinking room temperature or warm beverages, and it was a hot day, potentially, it was a little weird. Like, I don't know. But after a while, you don't even know you're doing it. It's just it becomes a part of life.
Yeah. Yeah, in my earlier days when I used to have to travel internationally, and I remember looking at, I was in like Asia, places like that. So they are really into like hot water drinking and a lot of traditional Chinese medicine ways of eating and drinking. And I remember thinking like, what in the world? Who does that? But everybody was doing it. And I was like, well, there must be something to it if a huge population of people do it and everyone is fine. So sure enough, once I got into that habit, it was just like every day. It's just
Hmm.
how it is. No problem.
Yeah. I'm gravitating toward that habit. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like seltzer water. Sometimes I like a little bubble to it, but no calories, nothing in it, natural flavoring, or water. And I have a refrigerator in my office here in this building. I don't use it for that.
Yeah.
I have them piled up on the floor. It's room temperature. And even at room temperature, it's still not, for those that don't like warm, hot stuff all the time,
Mm-hmm.
it's still got,
A
it's
little
not
to it.
cold, but it's still not hot, but it's better than drinking
Mm-hmm.
something ice cold that's coming out of the refrigerator.
Right.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Any other
Exactly.
thoughts on immunity that you want us to be aware of?
Um, no, those are the big things. So if people are just trying to figure out things to get in, have no clue, where do I start? What kind of foods really help the spleen and liver? Then that's when Google is your friend. You just look up traditional Chinese medicine, foods recommended for the liver and or the spleen, and you will get your list of foods. So here's something that's also interesting is the spleen is super more critical in the wintertime than the summer because it's colder. So we have to use more internal furnace to stay warm than we do in the summertime. So in the winter, colder weather, I'm telling you, like really get in the super deep spleen foods like potatoes and heavier foods because we need that for the spleen because it's working harder. In the summertime, you do more for the liver because that one is making the melanin levels in our body. And we need more of that for the sun time of the year. So that's when you're doing more of the fruits and more of the dandelions and more of the things like that. So that's the simple tip that I would give people. Follow the seasons and feed your body for the seasons.
And you mentioned potatoes in the colder weather. It's okay to
Mhm.
eat potatoes in warmer weather too, right?
All year round, but you're going to be doing stews and things like that in the
Yeah.
wintertime.
I had last night, and my friend brought it over. He said it was a Japanese potato. It looks
Oh,
on the outside like a yam, sweet potato. You open it up, it's white, and oh my gosh, it was better than a sweet potato. It was sweet. It was amazing. I like it.
oh wow. That's
Or they
fun.
call it a red potato, but it looks like a sweet potato. The shape of it is.
Big.
But so much out there we don't know about until you talk to other people like yourself and we learn it, or you get coached and you can walk that journey with somebody. Claire,
Right.
what best way to find you? What's that?
The best way to find me is online. I'm at www.gnosis, which is GNOSIS, SIS, naturalhealth.com. And through that site, or you can use a phone, I can help you set up a free 10-minute consult. And I'll review what kind of health issues you're trying to address and if it's in my wheelhouse. But by and large, no matter what you're going through, oh, I just don't like my allergies. Oh, I'm having side effects from all the things I have to consume. Whatever it is, generally this kind of work helps because I help to detox people and educate you on what foods work best for your body.
And as I've experienced with you in these podcasts, you have so much knowledge and things that are easy to do that we're not aware of, like drinking beverages that are room temperature, like proper hydration. Yeah, okay, we know we need to drink, but I had no idea it supports immunity. But now, as you explained, it makes perfect sense. Um,
Right.
so much to talk about, and looking forward next time we get together. Thanks for being here today, Claire.
Steve, it's always fun. Look forward to
Likewise.
next.
All right, we'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.